Hello, hi, how are you? Happy holidays from Podcast by George. Kind of staying close to the home front here, and everybody needs to do that. That's what the experts are saying. This holiday season, this Christmas, the best mask you can wear, even though we had a nice podcast with the folks from Silvertech, stay home. The home mask. Stay away from friends and family, folks. That's normally a big part of the holiday season. We don't need to do it this holiday season. We'll make it. It'll be better next year. I think it will. Everybody's sick to death of 2020. I'm hoping 2021 is going to be better all the way around, and we'll be able to do more in the home and hearth with friends and family in the new year. And speaking of homes, as you may know, 19 million Americans right now facing foreclosure, facing eviction because of the pandemic. 15 million additional Americans are facing bankruptcy due to loss of their health care. They had it from their employers. They lost their jobs. That's added to the 30 million, maybe 40 million Americans already that didn't have health care. And they're looking at leaving their homes as well because you go bankrupt. I mean, I think you get to keep your house sometimes, but not always. You can be put out of your home. So that's looming on the horizon. That's where we're at. And this is going to become a more important issue as we go through the next few weeks as they wait for this Mickey Mouse little stipend that they're wanting to give Americans. $600 they're talking about. That'll pay like a half month's rent if you live in California in a one-bedroom flat or something like that. It just couldn't be more laughable, and it really isn't funny at all. I shouldn't even laugh. But okay, so let's get to this thing that I wanted to talk about today, which is the Medicare for All floor vote proposal from the inimitable Jimmy Dore. And Jimmy Dore is a stand-up comedian, a podcaster. He was the aggressive progressive on the Young Turks. Really like this guy. He's got a great idea. He wants to tell Nancy Pelosi, he wants 15 House Democrats, I think it is, or thereabouts somewhere, just a small group actually, because of the narrow margin and majority for the Democrats in the House of Representatives. He wants those progressives to come forward and say, hey, we're not going to support your speakership. We're not going to vote for you unless you put Medicare for All on a floor vote in the House. And it'll go back to conference, and we'll come up with another speaker to vote on for the new term. I just think that's great. Now, I'm going to put up Jimmy's clip so you can see this very quickly. It won't take very long. Just take a minute or two to have him explain it. Nobody can explain things as well as this guy. I mean, he's great. Here's Jimmy Dore.
So, we've had the proposal. We put it out there, and it's getting a lot of action. The idea that the progressives in Congress, because the Democrats have such a small majority, that if the progressives, like the real progressives, right, the people in the squad, Rockin, things like that, people whose policies are certainly progressive, if they withhold their vote from Nancy Pelosi, she'll lose the speakership. And so they have power right now. And so we've told them, we're pushing them, and we're asking other people to pressure them into withholding their vote unless Nancy Pelosi promises in writing and on video to bring Medicare for All up for a vote. And that's very easy, and that's doable. In fact, not only is it doable, but everybody pretty much agrees with us. Even our detractors are agreeing with us.
Yeah.
So this is a real thing. If the squad and all you need is, so you need somewhere, so that they have like somewhere like a 12, 13, but there's a couple of races that haven't been, so it's like right around 12, 13, 14, 15 seats or votes, right? That's the majority that the Democrats have right now. So you could even get less. You could even get less votes, even less than that. So what I'm saying is this is doable. So now is when they have leverage. Now, they had leverage during the CARES Act. They didn't use it. They all did what Nancy Pelosi said. Even Bernie Sanders did what Chuck Schumer said. And they voted for the largest upward transfer of wealth in human history. And they got crumbs for it. That's what AOC said. And now here's AOC saying this. AOC says the thing that critics of activists don't get is that they tried playing the polite language policy game, and all it did was make them easier to ignore. It wasn't until they made folks uncomfortable that there was traction to do anything, even if it wasn't their full demand. So she's saying you got to make people uncomfortable, which is what I'm trying to tell people to do to her. Make her uncomfortable so she makes Nancy Pelosi uncomfortable, which is I tweeted out, now is the time for you to use your leverage and force Pelosi to bring Medicare for all up for a vote. Withhold your vote for Speaker until Pelosi agrees to hold a vote on Medicare for all. Only 15 votes needed. This is how you can actually get results. You have the leverage. Will you use it?
Okay, so let me talk about Jimmy Dore a little bit. I mean, I just love this guy. He's really good. I follow a lot of podcasts, a lot of commentators, but Jimmy Dore's from the south side of Chicago. He's one of these brass knuckle kind of guys that I've been waiting on my whole life in the Democratic Party. I've watched people like even Bernie Sanders. I mean, namby-pamby, like everybody, pacifist type dudes come down the pike, and the Democrats have done nothing but lose ground ever since I was a wee babe, folks. John Kennedy was talking about Medicare for all when I was 5 years old, and we've done nothing but move this party further to the right to where we look like the Republicans of my childhood, basically. And some people have said, well, the Democrats need to learn how to fight dirty. They need to get down in the goo and fight like the Republicans. And I say, no, lying, cheating, and stealing is probably not, you're not going to beat that by doing that. I don't think that's necessarily, like Gandhi said, an eye for an eye and we'll all be blind, basically. What we need is somebody like Jimmy Dore, somebody that can articulate, somebody that can present, somebody with a tough-minded idea, somebody that knows how to play hardball politics, like this idea that he's got on Medicare for all. And so that's what Jimmy Dore is up to. He put this idea forward, and then everybody jumped on Jimmy Dore. A lot of people don't like him. He uses swear words, which, frankly, I don't give a damn about. Gone with the Wind. I don't give a damn about that. And a lot of people don't like him because he takes on the centrists and the right-wing Democrats in Congress all the time. I really like Jimmy Dore because of that, and the man knows how to put an idea forward, so give him that. Okay, so let's jump into this a little bit. There are about a dozen progressives that need to play along with this idea if they're going to get Nancy Pelosi to put the Medicare for All proposal on the House floor. About a dozen or so. There's actually about 100 members in the Progressive Caucus, as it's called, in Congress. But a lot of those people aren't progressives at all. I suspect that a lot of them are careerists, a lot of them are posers, and they're supporting progressive ideas because they're from left-wing districts, and it helps get them elected and reelected. So we're going to see whether or not they're really supporters of this or not. And a lot of people are jumping all over Jimmy Dore now and his idea, and they're wanting to put other concepts and programs in there and tell him that's not the way to go, that we need to go to committee, that we need to get a committee chairperson elected, we need to get Joe Biden involved in this. And it kind of reminds me of my days in business. In marketing, I was kind of an idea guy. You'd get a really good idea, you'd get sign-offs on it, you'd get approvals, and then you'd bring it to management, and no, they weren't sure that we needed to do it like that at all. Did you consider this? Did you consider that? Well, I've been thinking about doing this for 20 years, and I always thought that people would want to co-op your ideas. They'd want to take control of them. They'd want to even shoot you down if they were jealous enough of them to prevent something good from happening for everyone. And I think this Medicare for All proposal that Jimmy Dore has falls into that category. Why would the progressives, why would they vote against this thing? Well, they're in these home states. Let's look at Mark Pocan up there in Wisconsin. I mean, he's a progressive. He's the chairperson of the Progressive Caucus in the House of Representatives. He's got a lot of corporate interest. He's got a lot of people that are employed in the insurance industry, as do I. Here in the state of Iowa, big ag country, big farm country. Yeah, well, we're also the second largest insurance capital next to the Hartford in the United States. There are all kinds of big-time lobbyists and power brokers in the state of Iowa, and they control a lot of Democratic politics, folks, and they're not wanting to lose their industries to Medicare for all and the people that work in the insurance industry. And there might be hundreds of thousands, millions, I don't know, of people that work in some level in insurance around the country, and they're afraid that they might lose their careers and their retirements because of Medicare for all. Now, that's simply not true. If Medicare for all comes into play, there's going to be plenty of jobs for people like that. People at the top, the CEOs with the feet up on the desk, flying around in Learjets and having meetings and stuff like that, yeah, they might have a little something to worry about. Medicare for all might not be so kind to them, but it's going to be okay for everybody else. And of course, the savings to individual citizens and the savings to the nation's economy, according to a CBO report that just came out this past week or two, would be massive. Here's a little headline on it. So the progressives don't want to lose that support if they're not really progressives. And if they are real progressives, and if they are from real progressive districts, let's think about somebody like AOC, for instance. She's not coming on board for this thing, not right now anyway. And if she doesn't, she may lose. As popular as she is, that'll make it tough for her in 2022. And the Democrats stand to lose a lot of seats in 2022. Why? Well, they lost seats with Donald Trump in office, for God's sake, the most unpopular Republican president, or any president probably, in history. Nancy Pelosi managed to lose seats. Joe Biden's going to be in there if things don't markedly improve under Joe within the next year and a half. And guess what? I got bad news for you. They're probably not. Oh, yeah. Democrats going to lose a bunch of seats, and they don't want to do that from left-wing voters in the party that will go third party or stay home. Independents that support Medicare for all and left-wing policies may not support those progressives in 2022, and it could be disastrous for them if they feel compelled to vote against this idea in the House. So that's why the progressives won't like it. Why won't the centrist, why won't the right-wing arm of the Democratic Party, which, got news for you, that's most of the party, why won't they go along with it? Well, because they are really controlled. They are really financed and backed by the donor class, by the insurance industry, one of the most powerful lobbies, maybe the most powerful lobby in America. How strong are they? Well, you know that guy Bernie Sanders. Remember when his candidacy fell apart this past spring when Barack Obama jumped into the race and told all the Democratic candidates, Pete Buttigieg and Klobuchar and all those people, to drop out, and they did, and that defractionalized Democratic Party basically sunk Bernie Sanders' candidacy. Well, yeah, Barack Obama was behind that. The DNC was behind that. But you know who was really behind it? Yeah, the insurance industry lobby. Those people do not want Bernie Sanders or any progressive like that to become president and champion Medicare for all. They were looking at the tea leaves and they were mortified by what was happening. My God, it looks like this Bernie Sanders guy is going to roll through the primaries. Trump is extremely weak. This guy could be the next president and be a advocate for Medicare for all. We got to get rid of him. And so that's why the corporatist part of the Democratic Party does not want Medicare for all to come to a House floor vote or to go anywhere because of that donor class. And let's take that a step further. It isn't just the insurance industry. This private insurance tied to your employment in the United States of America is the linchpin of corporatism. It's what keeps the working class in the traces. It's what keeps you in the harness. It's what keeps people from changing jobs. It's from what keeps people from becoming entrepreneurs and going out on their own and starting up their own businesses and trying new things. It keeps you down, folks, because you're afraid of losing that health care. And it started back in, I think, right after World War II when they were wanting a competitive advantage for employers to get people hired. They knew that if they could control your health, your life, and your death through your employment, they could keep you at work. You're not going to take a sabbatical. You're not going to go on an elongated vacation, just quit your job and maybe take it up again here in a year or two if you're going to lose your health care. So that part of it ain't going to happen as far as the oligarchy is concerned. And that's why they won't support Medicare for all, even though the overwhelming number of Americans want it, even though public opinion is all over the board in support of Medicare for all. They're not going to support it, even on a temporary basis. During the pandemic, they don't want to get that started, because if that becomes popular, if that continues to roll, my God, it'll shoot a big hole in the private insurance industry, obviously, but it also will strike at the very heart of capitalism as it is in the United States. Okay, so got to wrap up here, and I want to give you a unique perspective. And it's something you're not going to hear everywhere because it's not politically or even socially acceptable in a lot of respects. But let me try to put this into context for you, and it's not easy, but play along with me here. So the Democrats, why would they again come against Medicare for All so strongly? Well, you think of it this way. Think of the wars. Think of the battles that they're fighting. Think about the gun lobby. Now they lost that one. The Democrats actually are in on that one quite a bit. The climate change issue. Democrats have done a lot of horrible things. They're in on that too. Probably that battle's been lost. That horse is out of the barn. The endless wars that we're involved in. My God, Iowa's entire Democratic congressional delegation just voted for the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. They also voted against ending the Afghanistan war anytime soon. Wanted to make sure that we didn't pull out of there prematurely. My God, we've only been there for 19 years. They vote in favor of the security state with the Patriot Act continuing to spy on us, even though that was supposed to be a temporary thing tied to 9/11, for God's sake. That thing gets renewed every year. So that's not the issue. What's the real issue here? What are Democrats so worried about? Hell, they're in on everything. They're either too stupid or they're in on everything. Well, there is one issue. And I don't even know if it's cognizant or not, but there's one thing that the Democrats are holding most dear that separates them from the Republicans. And think of it this way, and I tell people this on the podcast all the time: American interests in business, capitalism in America is controlled by old white men. I don't think there's going to be any argument with that. Look at the CEOs and boards across America. No doubt about that. Old white men control business in America. Who controls politics? This parlor game, this life and death thing that's denying us health care, keeping us in these wars, saving the planet from climate change, the big three, as Podcast by George puts it. Yeah, it's old white women. Yes, particularly the Democratic Party. It is controlled by the Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi's, Neera Tandons, all those people. Yeah, that's who's running this game, folks. And you know it, right down to your local precincts and your local. They took this upon themselves, and they have some merit. There's some good things that they want to do, obviously. But just to be real honest with you, and run the risk of being called a misogynist, I don't know why, but women are running the Democratic Party. Well, what's the one issue, the one thing that they hold most dear, that's always on the back burner simmering, that could be endangered if what I described earlier happens with this Medicare for All vote causing this loss in the House of Representatives in 2022? Because you got to remember, the Republicans control the Senate. They have anyway. It's going to be narrow now. They control the Supreme Court. Hell, they just had Trump in there for 4 years. What's preventing Roe v. Wade from being overturned? Probably control of the House of Representatives and the speakership, she would like to think, of Nancy Pelosi. They do not want to risk that. They can't risk that. It's the one battle that they haven't lost, that isn't game over. Roe v. Wade. Think about that when you think about this great idea from the inimitable Jimmy Dore. And we're going to take it out here. I'm going to play this little clip from YouTube. This is Matt Orful. It's kind of fun. Doesn't last too long, but this is a great piece that goes to show you what the issue is. And again, remember, AOC has come out saying that she's not necessarily up with a vote on Medicare for All, although it's been a cornerstone of her candidacies and re-election here just this year. And yeah, that's what it's all about. But that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up. We'll be back with you here in and around the holiday season. Stay home, everybody. Stay safe. That's going to do it. That's another podcast by George.
We can't even get a floor vote on Medicare for All.
That's garbage. You can do it right now. We need 15 Democrats.
Hi, Jimmy.
We need the elected officials that you helped get elected to tell Nancy Pelosi that you will not vote for her as Speaker unless Medicare for All is put on the House floor for a vote.
I think it's a really smart idea.
You know, the worst abuse of power, Crystal, is not using the power you have to fight for people.
Will they? Time to let AOC know they have no other option, because we're watching and we see through their bullshit excuses.
We have to put public pressure on them.
I want to see who's going to vote against healthcare in the middle of a pandemic. If you're not going to do it now, you are never going to do it, you phony.
All the people who filled up your voicemail, they're going to remember whether you did the right thing here.
Which side are they really on? This is where you force progressive House members to reveal who they answer to. Do they answer to their constituents or do they answer to the party bosses? Listen to AOC's own words.
The Democratic Party does not do more unless it is pushed.
And so this moment is the great unmasking.
Force it to happen.
Ask them, are you fighters or are you careerists? Are you activists for the people or are you posers on Twitter?
Everyone's going to try to tell you that if you're just a little bit nicer, then it'll be fine. No.
The whole point of protesting is to make people uncomfortable. You got to make them uncomfortable. She's pretending to be part of a movement when she's really running cover for Nancy Pelosi. Did you think anybody voted for you so you could vote Nancy Pelosi without getting them anything? This is Medicare for all. People's actual lives depend on us doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's your chance to actually use your leverage. Will you?
Take risks.
Or will you be a party fucking climber?
Start bringing the ruckus on the Democratic Party. Force it to happen. Do not trust any political party to automatically work in your interest.
I call on everybody in independent media to join this mission.
Force it to happen.
Force the Congress to show which side are they really on. No vote for Nancy Pelosi unless Medicare for all is put on the House floor for a vote.
The Democratic Party does not do more unless it is pushed. So we need to push them.
Man, great job, Matt.
He goes by the name Orf.
Wonderful job.
Let's call him Matto, because I don't want to butcher his name.
Matt Orfalia.
Matt Orfalia.
Matt Orfalea.
Subscribe to him.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Matt Orfala.
Incredible.
I follow this guy on YouTube. You should too. His name is Matt Orfalia.
Orf.